Welcome to This Week from Blue Mountain Broadcasting. I'm so glad that you've tuned in today. I'm Lynelle Ellis, your host, and I'm looking forward to spending these next few minutes with you. I'm going to be interviewing Keith Carlin, who's volunteer at Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association, and he is our project manager for the move to the new facility. He has some great updates that you will definitely want to hear, so please stay tuned for that and also for station news at the end of the program. Right now, though, let's begin with our worship thought. For the next 4 weeks, as we are leading up to Easter, well, actually, that included last week, so it's the next 3 weeks right now, we are reading from the book, The Messiah. Small excerpts from that book talking about Christ's death and resurrection and giving us an opportunity to think deeply about those things and about the sacrifice that Jesus made for us. And we know that the faith that we have is really centered around this event, that we are taking some extra time to think about this time of year. So today we're going to be looking at the story of the triumphal entry, as it is known, Jesus riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. And this, of course, happened very shortly before his death. This reading I call a triumphal entry. 500 years before Jesus was born, the prophet Zechariah foretold the day the king would come to Israel. The people were familiar with the prophecy about how the Messiah would come to his kingdom. As soon as Jesus was seated on the donkey, the crowd hailed him as the Messiah, their king. The disciples thought that this was the brightest, most wonderful day of their lives. They did not know that it would lead to their master's death. The thousands of people who joined the procession were caught up in hopeful joy. Their shouts filled the air. Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. When the procession reached the top of the hill, Jesus stopped. Spread out before them was the city of Jerusalem, bathed in the light of the setting sun. The crowd was spellbound by the vision of beauty. But when they turned to watch Jesus' reaction to the sight, they were shocked to see Israel's king was in tears of agony. From where he was, Jesus could see Gethsemane, where he would face the darkest hours of his life. Nearby was Calvary, where he would suffer and die. But these things didn't cause Jesus sorrow. It was the sight of Jerusalem that broke his heart. The city that had rejected the Son of God and was about to take his life. How could he give her up? As he wept for Jerusalem, Jesus cried for the sins of all who would turn away from his love. Many today are walking the same path. The Holy Spirit has spoken to their hearts, but they're not willing to confess their errors. Jesus is shedding tears over you who have no tears to shed for yourself. Every evidence of God's love, every ray of truth is either melting our hearts to accept Jesus or confirming that we have rejected him. Next week, we will pick up with these thoughts again. We'll continue thinking about Jesus' death and resurrection and him coming to earth as a sacrifice for humanity as we look at the story of his death. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining me now is Keith Carlin. Keith is a volunteer at Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association, and he wears lots of hats, but the one that's really important right now to us is project manager for our move to the new facility. And Keith, it is great to have you back on the show.
Glad to be here.
Today, we just want to give an update on a number of things for our viewers. And probably the one, I don't know if it's at the top of your list there, but one that's at really the top of mine in my mind is just the great news from a meeting yesterday where we approved plans for our remodel of the facility.
The drawings and the plans. Yeah, we went through some details yesterday.
We did, and you have been spending months in those details, immersed in them yourself, working on just what we needed, getting a lot of feedback about what we needed, and then actually putting it into the plan in the proper software and those sorts of things.
Trying to get it to the point where the county looks at this and says, hey, that sounds great, let's do it.
Yes, that's what we want.
And that is what we're after, because we don't want to go in with ideas that we think are great but don't really work. Mm-hmm. We have worked hard with a number of sources of information, experts in various fields, to get the best advice we can. And we made some changes. Just the night before you saw those plans, I moved one of those walls 5 feet. And that was giving us more studio space for the recordings. And that's a very interesting addition to our capabilities.
Yes, and probably we should just kind of catch up those who might be tuning in and saying, what are they talking about, new facility? So we did purchase a building on Wallula Road for Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association. It had been used as a church building. That's what it was designed for originally. Mm-hmm. So when you say studio space, we're talking about using a good piece of what was the sanctuary.
The meeting area, yes.
Yes, to become a studio space.
That means clearing out a lot of areas of things that were there. The podium area, the baptistry area, all of that is going to become the studio area. And a nice flat concrete floor that the cameras can roll over smoothly with no jiggles and jangles and stuff like that.
Yes.
We've been talking about how do we accomplish all of that. And we've got the drawings to the point where we're just about ready to submit them. I just discovered during our meeting yesterday I have to get another section drawing in there for the lighting grid in the studio area. And so I have to insert that into the submittal package for the county. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, though, we have been preparing the rooms themselves for the usage. And we have the flooring all in place. Jerry went in there and cleaned those floors thoroughly with just water, but it was a good job, well done. We do have special cleaner. We're not allowed to put any wax on that floor. Mm-hmm. I thought we would. I thought that would be a great thing for it. And turns out the manufacturer says, no, don't do that. Another place where the experts keep us out of trouble. So we want to make sure that that continues to be the case.
And you're referring to two very special rooms that those rooms were already there, thankfully. One of the great things about this building that we bought was that it already had lots of appropriate sized rooms for equipment and offices and editing rooms and the kinds of things we would need. But two of those we have equipment in that cannot be subject to issues with static or
electrostatic discharge. If you've ever walked across the rug and put your finger up against something that you could hear a snap, it was very, very hard on electronics. And the flooring, the tile that we purchased is very electrodissipative, and it takes care of that problem. It goes through a copper foil bus out to a ground rod that keeps it completely safe. So we've prepared those rooms for that. We're just about ready to start drilling into those concrete floors through those tile to install racks in place in there for the equipment. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a joy to watch happen. We had expected to wait until after all of the remodel was done before we put any electronic equipment in there. And that would have delayed us several months beyond where we're actually going to be able to go, because talking with the air conditioning and heating people, we can block off that the area where we're doing the remodel. Mm-hmm. The studio area and all of the change area can be totally blocked off from the airflow getting to these rooms that require the electronics. So we're going to be able to go ahead and install equipment in those rooms, and that's making several people very happy.
Yes, it allows us to move forward, and then we also don't have the danger of getting dust which was
That's
the concern.
the point. The
Can't have
dust,
any construction dust in there.
the construction dust from the sawdust, the powder that comes off from the sheetrock sanding, all of these kinds of things you don't want in electronics.
So that's really good news.
So we're really moving forward. We've gotten excellent conditions now with an internet connection between the new site and our current site so that we can actually send information via an internet connection that will be bringing us the high definition signals from those new dishes, not new dishes, but newly installed out there at the Wallula facility.
See, now you just said a beautiful term to me,
high definition. High definition.
You know that it's been a huge priority for me. And
this is her middle name.
Lynelle, high definition for Blue Mountain Television, yes.
Yeah.
Because we really want to improve that signal quality.
It will make a big improvement. It really will. There's no question of that. Something else that I wanted to talk with you about. I know we only just discussed it very, very briefly. You know, I'm involved with amateur radio, and the crew is providing communications for the Emergency Management Department of Wallula County.
Yes.
Wallula County? No.
Walla
Walla County. I've got to remember which geography I'm in this week. And I've been doing this with our amateur radio people out at the mass vaccination clinics at the fairgrounds.
Yes.
It has been clear to me that during the time that we are experiencing difficult times here in this county,
yes,
there needs to be better communication from the Emergency Management Department to the community. Well, the term there that was important is difficult times, disasters.
Yes.
We have been working toward a backup power generator to keep us on the air during those kinds of times. And that's one of the things that I've had to just increase the power capacity requirements for after we got an estimate for the cooling for the equipment rooms for the broadcasting and the network. And it turns out that the required power means we need to go, instead of a 45 kilowatt generator, to a 48 kilowatt generator. So instead of $15,000, we're at $18,000 for that.
Yes.
Anybody listening want to donate? That's the one to think about.
You know, there are people watching right now who could give us that $18,000, and that would be the generator, and then we would always know that Blue Mountain Television is there, both on the air and with our stream, which is a way lots of people access the station, to let them know when something is happening in our community.
The actual figure for all the electrical is now just about $25,000.
Total. It's really good.
That covers just about all of our electrical, yes. And that would be a great donation to receive, because then we could move forward with something that would allow us to really go into the community and say, here is your source of information. Here is where Liz Jesse, the Emergency Management Director, can give us the information to give you, whether you're able to watch us on the TV or if your power is out, you can at least stream us on your handheld, your smartphone,
your battery
or whatever, and get the information about where to go for what kind of needs, what to do in emergency conditions. I want to see us involved with the community in that way. I want them to know they can come to us for that kind of information.
Great. We definitely must be in that position. As the only television station here in our valley, it's really important that we provide that service.
I want to see that happen.
Very good. I'm glad that you are including that in the numbers that we have here. We mentioned earlier something about the construction permit going to the county, and so now the next thing we're going to do is apply for that. Do you have a kind of a clue about what the time frame is that we would estimate?
My guesstimate is that we'll get it by sometime between May 1 and May 30, May 31. I don't have any real confidence of an early approval, but we're doing our best to give them the simplest approach that we can that includes all of the essential information with the permit submittal.
Very good. Well, I know that We have many who are watching and who are involved as volunteers and board members and staff at the station who are really looking forward to the time when we can begin actually making some of those modifications that we need to make to the buildings, taking out some walls, adding in, and that sort of thing, working with the electrical, all of those things. And we should probably remind our viewers that we will only move ahead with those as we have funds on hand to do so.
Can't do it any other way.
So we certainly are asking you to participate with us, because we want, when that date comes that the county says, okay, now you can make the modifications, we would be so happy to have funds on hand to actually begin.
Yes, we are going to depend a lot on volunteer help, especially during the demolition period area. And I've had the offer of a big trailer that we can bring in to load up and take the stuff away. That's good, but we need to know that there will be people out there to actually help with taking all the wood out, taking it apart. Some of this is going to be very critically, very careful done, because it's necessary to reclaim some of the items that we're going to be working with,
yes,
such as the baptistry. We just found that there are probably other churches that would be able to use that. We don't want to damage that in any way. Yes. We want the plumbing for that. We want all of these things to be coordinated in a way that makes this a useful contribution to some other entity that can make use of it.
Yes, really good. And we have just a little bit of time left, but we're thinking about the outside of the building some as well. We know that we would love it to look more beautiful than it presently does, and we've been exploring some options. What have you heard about what we're looking into?
Well, I've heard that we could go native. Natural, in the Northwest kind of stuff. If we do, won't that make it easier for maintenance?
Oh, it certainly would. We wouldn't have to worry about the same kind of needs for watering plants if we went with things that just love the weather the way it
that
naturally
makes so much
is.
Sense to me.
So we're really looking into that option.
Do we have any resources personnel-wise that can give us any good advice on that?
We do. Some of our viewers have probably heard of Mike Denny.
Oh, Mike.
Yes,
yeah.
And his wonderful
the expert.
Yes, so we are talking with him and getting his good advice as someone who's really an expert in the natural life of our area.
And where to find these resources that we might need. You know, these kinds of things, if we go native, we have to be careful where we get them. Because there's only certain areas where we're allowed to go and get them out of the native environment.
Yes.
And if we try to do that, we have to be very careful and cautious that we don't violate any of the rules.
Absolutely, and we'll make sure that we do it in the proper way.
Do it by the book.
Absolutely.
I have to do the construction by the book. You have to be careful about other kinds of things as well.
Yes.
That's true.
So, anything else you wanted to add about any updates that they need to know that I might have forgotten to ask you about?
Updates are going to be incremental. As we do these, we've put in part of the security camera system around there. As we get some more walkways in the attic that we can use to move into areas in there and work around them, we'll be able to install more cameras around in there. And I know Jerry is anxious to get some of that done. We have a good design on bringing the wires down through the ceilings into the various rooms that they need to be in. And we have a good plan for making those very stable and what I would call immune to RFI by the placement of them, how we dress them around the rooms.
Yes.
All of this is in the preliminary planning as we design the wire trays for this. And so that's going on. Those wire trays are going to be in the attic.
Yes.
And they're going to be going around various places in there to supply the various connections. All the way from the studio on the east end, back to the network room in the middle, back over to the broadcast equipment room in the west end. All of those have to be designed and placed in there, and he's got that pretty well conceptually ready. Now he is actually ready to start putting the catwalks in there. And he's in there probably today doing some of that.
Oh, that's great. Well, I just have to ask you, aren't you glad that we have volunteers like Keith who understand these things? And I have to name a few others, Keith and Jerry and Don and Jim, those who are actively working on the technical side of what we need all as volunteers. Think of the huge donation that is in their time and money savings for our ministry. So thank you.
I'm glad to have the opportunity. It keeps me getting up every morning.
Excellent. And thank you for coming and sharing this good report with us as well, Keith.
Hey, happy to do it.
Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Time now for station news and some updates about programming coming up on Blue Mountain Television. The first thing that I want to make sure you're aware of is that it is time for Days of Noah Part 3. I know many of you have been watching this series that we've been broadcasting during the month of March, and Part 3 is this Saturday evening at 7 p.m. It's called The Valley of Decision. The final crisis is about to break on the world, and the prophecies concerning the Antichrist and the mark of the beast reveal how all upon the earth will be forced to choose whether or not they will enter into the refuge of the ark. This is the tie-in that's going to tie what happened in the time of Noah to what's coming for our world. I know that you want to tune in and watch Part 3. Because basically everybody on earth is soon going to find themselves in the Valley of Decision, as this episode is titled. So that's 7 p.m. Saturday night on Blue Mountain Television for third part of Days of Noah. And of course, we keep reminding you, and we will continue to remind you because it's so important to us, about our partnership weekend. This is a celebration of Blue Mountain Television's anniversary. The station first went on the air on April 20, 1990. And so we're looking at an anniversary, 31 years. And we will be celebrating that on the weekend closest to that anniversary, which is the weekend of April 16 and 17. This event is going to be happening in person at the Village Seventh-day Adventist Church. Our guests will be Michael and Lynn Harris. Michael sings, as well as preaches and shares good messages. And his wife also shares messages, and she's going to be presenting on Friday evening something called From Grief to Relief. Sounds really, really important. And then the sermon on Sabbath will be There's Nothing More Powerful Than a Made Up Mind. And that sounds like truth that I'm looking forward to hearing. And of course, we'll have music from Michael Harris as well throughout the evening and a concert on Saturday evening. So this is the way that we are going to be able to enjoy the anniversary of Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association and enjoy it in person. Now, some of you are saying, I'm not really ready to come in person, not quite comfortable with coming in person at this point, or it's just too hard for me to get out. No worries. We are going to be broadcasting and streaming as well, so you certainly will be able to watch it from home if that's what you would be more comfortable doing or if that's what you need to do. So we want everyone to be able to be involved in the partnership weekend, whether you can come in person or whether you're going to be joining us on television or online. So mark your calendars for the weekend of April 16 and 17. I know that I've marked mine. Very, very important time for us. And I would right now be giving you a whole string of updates about what's happening with the new facility. But since we just had the great opportunity to talk with Keith Carlin about that, you already know all the details about what's happening there. The most important thing that I should share with you right now, and that we probably more than hinted at during our interview as well, was that it is so important for you to be involved with this renovation and move to the new facility. Blue Mountain Television has always been an organization that only moves ahead as funds are available, and so we are needing contributions toward this right now. We're just about to print a gift catalog that will illustrate some specific things that you can give in smaller or larger increments, specific projects involved in that move to the new facility that will be really helpful to some of you as you contact us and as we meet with you to share with you what you can do very specifically to help us with this move to the new facility. And we would never want to skip the thought that your prayers about what's going on are the most important, as we are asking God to bless, asking Him to provide the funds where they are needed, and asking for Him to help us provide the very best programming possible for people who are tuning in, wanting to know him better, wanting to connect with him, with each other, with the community in a stronger way. So it's my prayer that Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association will continue to be and will grow even stronger in its service to our community and to God's kingdom. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch the show today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.